Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz chess tournament in 2020. So it's again a great event for us chess lovers, of course. Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Levon Aronian, Jan Nepomniachtchi, many great grandmasters are participating, and the concept is like this. First we have 3 days of rapid, so we will have 3 rapid games on each day, so 9 rapid games in the end, and then 18 rounds of blitz chess, so every day we'll have 9 blitz chess games. So it will be again an incredible tournament. Levon Aronian, among also many grandmasters, proved himself in this type of format. On the other hand, also, for instance, Jan Nepomniachtchi, an interesting player. He can be maybe the next World Championship challenger against Magnus Carlsen. Magnus is, of course, the top favorite. In the last rounds, he now crushed really Hikaru Nakamura with a great performance. But the funny thing is that Magnus Carlsen lost the game because of the loss of the connection of his internet server. So it's really a bad thing. He lost the game against a direct competitor, against Jan Nepomniachtchi. So after the first day, Levon Aronian and Jan Nepomniachtchi held the first place, which was, I think, a little bit of a surprise because Levon Aronian had some troubles also in some previous tournaments, but he's still a shark. And today, in the round 4, he faced Magnus Carlsen here with the black pieces. Magnus played with the white pieces. So it's, as I said, really a great tournament for us. I really like this rapid games because many mistakes, many inaccuracies happen, and then we have really some great tactical battles and great, for instance, piece sacrifices, pawn breakthroughs, and similar tactical ideas in the middle game. So let's check out now the game between Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian from the round 4. Again, a wild game. Magnus opened here with the move d4. Levon Aronian played knight to f6. We have c4 and now g6. After knight to c3, we have d5, the Grunfeld defense. And Magnus plays this 3 knights variation, which is, I think, a great line to handle the Grunfeld. After remove bishop to g7, we have queen to b3. Now it's the so-called Russian variation, and here the best line to proceed is d takes c4, queen to c4, and now we have kingside castling by Aronian. And now e4. Okay, let's stop a little bit and evaluate the position immediately. White has, of course, a very powerful central control. The queen is centralized, the pawns are centralized, the knights are centralized. So it's okay. What black does, of course, here is simply relying on his dark square diagonal with possibilities. Maybe if the position allows it, maybe knight to d7, c5, or c6, building maybe sort of a blocking setup, really a passive setup. But as I said, the queen, although on an active square, still can be an object of black's attack. So the queen is sometimes in these types of lines vulnerable to black's attacks. As I said, black will rely maybe with some bishop to e6, bishop to f5 on his bishop's activity. White will rely here simply on the pawn central control and of this very powerful knight central control. So in the game a6 played by Aronian, we have e5 and now b5. A counterattack, we have queen to b3. Magnus stays on this very active diagonal, and now we have knight to g4. This is already a mistake by Aronian. A better idea is here to play knight to d7. It's very important to stay with the knight on this square, because after potential e6, this line probably bothered Levon Aronian. After f takes e6, queen to e6, now king to h8, and now maybe knight to g5 was Magnus Carlsen preparation, but we don't have to react here. Knight to f6, and now after a potential fork. The funny part is here that black is slightly better, although down the exchange. The activity of the pieces gives now black really a comfortable game. First of all, the deep 4 pawn is hanging. We still can develop our knight, on our bishop and knight on very active squares on c6, bishop to b7. This rook will come into the game. So as I said, we have even possibilities to push the pawn on e5. The queen still needs a couple more tempos to escape from this weird square on f7. So as I said, black has a comfortable game here. I'm not sure if Aronian missed here something in the opening preparation, but here after the move knight to g4, so you see Aronian didn't play knight to d7. Here Magnus Carlsen played h3. We have knight to h6, and now bishop to d3. A very important move that Magnus Carlsen realized, because here there is this threat that black can go to f5, but here bishop to f5 is, I think, a better continuation anyway, because after bishop to h6, you see we can simply take the bishop on d3. We don't have to react. That's the main problem here. But in the game, Aronian played the move bishop to e6, and Magnus simply pushed the pawn, of course, d4. Now we have two advanced pawns on the 5th rank, and this pawn storm in the center is really now hard to handle. In the game, knight to d7 was played, which was, again, a risky choice. If you, for instance, take now, but again, I think you can simply take here d takes c6. The threat is, of course, knight to c5 followed with knight to d3, but you don't have to play this continuation like this. In the game, Magnus, after the move knight to d7, simply retreated with the bishop. So he doesn't react, and still now you see the bishop is again endangered here in the game. Bishop to f5 was played, and now we have this similar line, bishop to h6, bishop to h6, but now bishop to f5. That's the main problem now of this position, and Magnus finally castles. So what Magnus has accomplished here is, again, this pawn central control, supported with the knight, but we have moved a little bit further. We have moved up a rank. Now the pawns are on the 5th rank. They're not on the 4th rank, so I don't think that Levon Aronian has here counterplay. This bishop is aiming into nothing. This knight maybe has a one attack on the queen, but then after it's simply a passive piece. These knights are controlling the center, and here it's already a bad position for Levon Aronian. e6. We have d takes e6, knight to c5. Here first e takes f7. First you should give the check, of course, rook to f7, and now queen to a3. We're hiding a little bit with our queen. We don't want our queen to be endangered. And now the king, the knight has to react. We have knight to e6, and now, of course, rook to d1. You see how white pieces are playing in perfect harmony. The evaluation is much, much better here for white. Queen to f8. Here Magnus plays again queen to b3, staying on this very, very active diagonal. The rook is a little bit misplaced also on f7. We have rook to e8, knight to d5, bishop to g7, and now rook to e1, simply supporting our advanced pawn. You see how black has this crowded situation of the pieces. They're really playing only defensively here. Magnus Carlsen, on the other hand, are playing much more freely. We have c5, queen to a3 again, rook to a7, and now queen to a5. Magnus simply searches a better square for the queen on the board, because whenever we have the advantage in the game, we should always evaluate the piece that needs improvement. This knight is perfectly fine. This knight maybe could have some kind of an improvement, but so far it cannot be improved because the knight is restricting this square g5. But our rooks are perfectly fine, so the only piece that basically needs improvement is the queen. So that's why Magnus searches now for opportunities. a4, we have b4, and now knight to f6. Great move by Magnus. Bishop to f6, e takes f6, queen to f6, but now we can simply take this pawn. Again, we created new weaknesses. The pawns are splitted. Again, we have two isolated pawns, still with a great activity on the e and d file, and still with opportunities to cement our knight on a centralized square on e5. Here rook to g7. Here Magnus takes another pawn, king to h8, rook to d6, simply pushing, simply continuing to pin here Levon Aronian. We have rook to g8, and now here a very nice move, rook takes e6. Here Levon Aronian hoped for some tactics, but it's not a problem because we can simply escape king to f1, queen to b2, and now here Magnus played queen to d4, a great simplification idea, which you should do when you're up the exchange or where we maybe have a better position. Simplifying is a good idea, queen to d4, and in this position Levon Aronian resigns. So, but as I said, it was a lost game from the beginning. Incredible what Aronian did here. So he played knight to g4, and from this point on, the game was basically over. Magnus simply kicked away him, and bishop to d3, d4, d5, bishop to b1, and now this tactic, which splits the pawn in front of the king. You see, these are all weaknesses, and Magnus played now e6, a great pawn breakthrough in the center, finally opening the position in front of the king, and it was game over. So great performance by Magnus, because he lost that game, as I said, against Jan Nepomniachtchi, this because of this loss of connection. So as there should be new rules, I think, about this disconnections. I'm not sure what we should do, but this is not fair. This shouldn't be placed like this. Maybe the players could play on a separate, and I'm not sure, on a separate server somehow, or maybe in one room but on computers or something. I'm not sure how video or some other organizations should manage to do that. But as I said, this is really bad for chess when you lose a whole point against your direct competitor for the throne because of the disconnection. So but still, I think Magnus can turn things over and win this tournament. So Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Great attack again by Magnus Carlsen. We'll continue now to follow this very important tournament. If you want to see more games like this, check out my commented chess games. Here is the link. And if you want to see the best chess games of all times, check out my best chess games of all time series. And if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best.